Okay, it's 4:30. We'll call this meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we're going to start the meeting with something that we feel very honored to do. Doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's a very proud moment for us. We're going to do a couple of swearings in. Officer Rando, I'll start with you, please. Come up. I just want to say, when you're on the town board and you're driving around town, you're always trying to look and pay attention. And over the years, I always noticed when you were working as a TCO, how serious you took it and what a good job you did. I think I mentioned it to the chief a couple of times. So we're very proud to have you here with us. If you would repeat after me. I, Police Officer Taylor Rando,
I, Police Officer Taylor Rando,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the codes, rules, and regulations of the town of Shelter Island,
and the codes and regulations of
for the town of Shelter
the
Island.
town of Shelter Islands.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer,
I will faithfully discharge the
duties
of the
abiding by the rules,
abiding by the rules,
regulations,
regulations,
and general orders of the Shelter Island Police Department.
and general orders of the Shelter Island Police Department.
And I will serve and protect the people
And I will serve and protect the people
and property of Shelter Island to the best of my ability.
and property of Shelter Island to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Don't stick them out. Okay, next we have Sergeant Rando. Would you please come up? We have a promotion here. The town board interviewed 3 very qualified candidates for this job, and any one of them would have been a very good fit for the police department. But the town board felt Officer Sergeant Rando that you're the man. Okay, please repeat after me. I, Sergeant Anthony Rando,
I, Sergeant Anthony Randall,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the codes, rules, and regulations
and the code, rules, and regulations
of the town of Shelter Island.
of the town of Shelter Island.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of sergeant,
I will faithfully discharge the duties of sergeant,
abiding by the rules, regulations, and general orders
abiding by the rules, regulations, and general orders
of the Shelter Island Police Department.
of the Shelter Island Police Department.
And I will serve and protect the people and property of Shelter Island
I will serve and protect the people and property of Shelter Island
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
But Lindsay and the boys, if they want to come up for a minute and allow them in this sergeant show on.
Wrap it up, guys.
I really thank, honestly, the town board and who also serves as a police commission and everybody that's come out today. Look, we're a small police department, and as you can tell, we're a close-knit group. We work hard every day to protect and serve the people of the community that have entrusted in us to do that job. So, from our support staff, Jen and Amanda in the back, crossing guards, bay constables, and all police officers. It's an honor for us to serve this community, and we do that every day, and we will continue to do that. So congratulations to both Taylor and Anthony on Anthony on his promotion and Taylor on her appointment as police officer. You have big shoes to fill, and we expect you to fulfill them. So for those here, we invite you back to the firehouse.
Jim, one word. When you say it's a privilege for us. The quality of recruits that you've brought into this department are outstanding. And I think I speak for the entire town board. When we interviewed the three of you, you were off the charts, all three of you. You're an amazing group of young men. Just was blown away by those interviews. And I think, the department has never been stronger than it is today. And under your leadership, Jim, it's a lot to be said for you. The town uses you as a, main person and a voice for us. And I think you speak, I think you've shaped your department into a great department. But on behalf of the town board, we couldn't be more proud of the people in blue that serve this community. And thank you guys very, very, very much. Appreciate the job that you do.
Yes, did you say?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna read, right?
Yeah. We'll just do it the old fashioned way. You second me, I'll second.
Yeah.
Meg? Yeah, go right around. We just, folks that are with us, we just got to wait a couple of minutes for the room to clear out. We should be ready to go in about a minute.
Okay, we'll start this meeting and we have some resolutions. We'll start with setting some public hearings. Jim?
Okay. Whereas Ann Santisari of 11 Montclair Avenue has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to install a mooring in West Neck Harbor at a location designated as latitude 41.04905 degrees north and longitude 72.3475 degrees west. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to section 90-5 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, the town board hereby calls for a public hearing to be held at 4:40 p.m. prevailing time on the 11th day of March, 2022, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to the proposed installation. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas Seth and Bonnie Harris, 6 Bootleggers Alley, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to remove a 6x22 section of existing finger pier in Southold Bay and install a 4-foot by 20-foot fixed section of dock with splashboard beneath. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, the town board hereby calls for a public hearing to be held at 4:42 p.m. prevailing time on the 11th day of March, 2022, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or opposition to the proposed construction. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas Jillian D. Stabe, 15 Montclair Avenue, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to install a mooring in West Neck Harbor at a location designated as latitude 41.047658 degrees north and longitude 72.347794 degrees west. Said location formerly occupied by the W2952 Binder mooring. Therefore, be it resolved that pursuant to section 90-5 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, the town board hereby calls for a public hearing to be held at 4:44 p.m. prevailing time on the 11th day of March, 2022, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to the proposed installation. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm moving on to fleet appointments.
Yep.
Yes.
Okey-dokey. Whereas pursuant to section 30, parentheses 1, parentheses H of the Public Officers Law, a town officer must sign and file a constitutional oath of office within 30 days after the term of office begins. And whereas on January 7th, 2022, Maria Magenti was appointed to serve as a member of the Community Housing Fund Advisory Committee for a term to expire on January 11th, 2024. And whereas Maria Magenti has not yet signed and filed said constitutional oath of office, and whereas the town board desires to have Maria Magenti serve the town of Shelter Island in said capacity, now therefore be it resolved that Maria Magenti is hereby appointed to serve as a member of the Community Housing Fund Advisory Committee for a term to expire January 11th, 2024. So moved.
Councilman Colligan seconds and votes aye.
All those in favor?
Aye. Whereas pursuant to section 30, parentheses 1 dash parentheses I of the Public Officers Law, a town officer must sign and file a constitutional oath of office within 30 days after the term of office begins. And whereas on January 7th, 2022, Michael Shotkin was appointed to serve as a member of the Community Housing Fund Advisory Committee for a term to expire on January 11th, 2024. Whereas Mr. Shotkin has not yet signed and filed said constitutional oath of office, and whereas the town board desires to have Mr. Shotkin serve on the town of Shelter Island in said capacity, now therefore be it resolved that Michael Shotkin is hereby appointed to serve as a member of the Community Housing Fund Advisory Committee for a term to expire on January 11th, 2024. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas pursuant to section 31H of the Public Officers Law, the town officer must sign and file a constitutional oath of office within 30 days after the term of office begins. And whereas on January 4th, 2022, David Clark was reappointed to serve as safety and training officer for the Highway Department for the year 2022. And whereas Mr. Clark has not yet signed and filed said constitutional oath of office, whereas the town board desires to have Mr. Clark continue to serve town of Shelter Island in said capacity. Now therefore be resolved that David Clark is hereby reappointed to serve as safety and training officer for the Highway Department for the year 2022. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas pursuant to section 31H of the Public Officers Law, a town officer must sign and file a constitutional oath of office within 30 days after the term of office begins. And whereas on January 4th, 2022, Tom Hassagen was appointed to serve as maintenance mechanic 2 for the year 2022. And whereas Mr. Hassagen has not yet signed and filed said constitutional oath of office, and whereas the town board desires to have Mr. Hassagen serve the town of Shelter Island in said capacity, now therefore be it resolved that Tom Hassagen is hereby appointed to serve as maintenance mechanic 2 for the year 2022. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas pursuant to section 31H of the Public Officers Law, a town officer must sign and file a constitutional oath of office within 30 days after the term of office begins. And whereas on January 4th, 2022, Chief of Police James J. Reed was reappointed to serve as Emergency Management Coordinator for the year 2022. And whereas Mr. Reed has not yet signed and filed said constitutional oath of office, and whereas the town board desires to have Chief Reed continue to serve the town of Shelter Island in said capacity, now therefore be it resolved that Chief of Police James J. Reed is hereby reappointed to serve as Emergency Management Coordinator for the year 2022. So moved.
Councilman Colligan seconds and votes aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Whereas pursuant to section 31-8 of the Public Officers Law, a town officer must sign and file a constitutional oath of office within 30 days after the term of office begin. And whereas on January 4th, 2022, Mary Ann McGinn was reappointed to serve as AAA driver for the year 2022. And whereas Mrs. McGinn has not yet signed and filed for said constitutional oath of office, and whereas the town desires to have Mrs. McGinn continue to serve the town of Shelter Island in said capacity, now therefore be it resolved that Mary Ann McGinn is hereby reappointed to serve as AAA driver for the year 2022. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
We have some appointments. Be it resolved that Michael DeSanctis is hereby appointed to serve as a provisional building inspector for 30 hours per week at the rate of $54,600 per year, retroactive to February 9th, 2022. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that Kim Riley is hereby appointed to serve as office assistant for the following positions: Contractor License Review Board Office Assistant, Building Department Office Assistant, Zoning Department Office Assistant, and Zoning Board of Appeals Office Assistant for 35 hours per week effective February 22nd, 2022, to be paid as follows. Contractor License Review Board, $1,222.34. Building Department, $23,274.50. Zoning, $23,274.50. ZBA clerk, $7,940.33 for a total of $55,711.67. And be it further resolved,
No,
Nope, that's it.
yes,
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, because this is the budget transfers.
Gotcha.
Be it further resolved that the following budget transfers are hereby approved. $23,274.52 from the B 3620.107 to be dispersed as follows. $11,637.26 to the B 3620.113 account and $11,637.26 to the B 8010.104 account. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Kim, you've been with us all along, but this is a little transfer, so congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Kim.
Okay.
All right. Be it resolved that the following 2021 transfers of funds are hereby approved. $135 from the A3510.431 veterinarian account to the A3510.484 Police Department Office and Miscellaneous account, and $254.35 from the Police Department A3510.498 account to the Police Department A3510.484 Office and Miscellaneous account. So moved.
Councilman Colligan seconds and votes aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The Cornell Agreement. Be it resolved that supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute the agreement retroactive to 2021 between the town of Shelter Island and Cornell Cooperative Extension of Suffolk County, which will provide, the Cornell Cooperative Extension will provide for a shellfish seed program for the town of Shelter Island for restocking town waters with a sum of $7,500. All shellfish will be delivered by November 30th, 2021, which they were, and they were reseeded. It's an annual thing that we do each and every year, and we're keeping that going. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
This is for the Historical Society parking. Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute a license agreement between the town of Shelter Island and the Shelter Island Historical Society concerning parking for the Historical Society events for the year 2022. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $551.55 from the 2022 A3120.491 Police Department Service Contracts account to Car Business Systems, PO Box 936715, Atlanta, Georgia, for the annual maintenance contract for the period January 24th, 2022 through January 23rd, 2023 for the second copy machine in the police department. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $850 from the 2022 A1330.476 receiver of taxes software account to Edmunds Gov Tech, Inc., 301 Tilton Road, Northfield, New Jersey, 08225 for the annual software support maintenance fee for the period of February 1st, 2022 through January 31st, 2023. So moved.
Councilman Colligan seconds and votes aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that 2021 general claims number 2259 through 2296, in the amount of $49,858.94, and the 2021 highway claims number 286 in the amount of $89.60, and the 2021 West Neck water claim number 49 in the amount of $3,882.30, and the 2022 general claims number 66 through 184 in the amount of $71,910.48, and the 2022 highway claims number 9 through 17 in the amount of $2,887.78, and the 2022 West Neck water audit and the West Neck water claims number 1 through 3 in the amount of $791.46 are hereby approved for payment as audited, and the supervisor and/or town board member is hereby authorized and directed to sign the approval of payment of same. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next one is rules and procedures for meetings. It's fairly long. I'm going to start it and then turn it over to Stephen. Whereas Article 7 of the New York State Public Officers Law, also known as the Opens Meeting Law, gives members of the public the right to attend and observe town board meetings and work sessions. However, it does not give the public the right to speak or otherwise participate at those meetings, except that there is a public hearing scheduled. Whereas, notwithstanding the absence of a statutory right to speak and participate at town meetings, the board believes that such a right is fundamental and grounded in historical public participation on the island. Whereas, due to the recent events, the board does feel that public participation is or should be unfettered. Whereas Section 63 of the New York State Town Law authorizes the board to determine its own rules of procedure for conducting town meetings. And whereas in order to prevent verbal interruptions, shouting, or other outbursts and other behavior that interferes with the deliberative process, and whereas to ensure that the public has the opportunity to participate without fear and with clear expectations. And whereas the New York State Committee on Open Government has agreed that reasonable rules may be adopted to limit the length, general nature, and time when public comments may be heard in order for the board to consider various points of view and run an efficient meeting. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board of Shelter Island hereby formally adopts the following rules for public participation at town meetings.
Rule number 1, the town supervisor shall preside over town meetings and recognize town board members upon request. Number 2, at town board work sessions, public comment shall be limited to the end of said work session unless the supervisor recognizes a specific member of the public prior thereto. A work session is the only opportunity for a quorum of the board to gather for the purpose of discussion and deliberation on agenda items, so a focused approach is necessary. Therefore, public comment is provided for thereafter. At town board meetings, public comment on agenda items shall be limited to the beginning of said meeting prior to adopting resolutions, and any general comments may be made at the end of said meeting. During a public hearing, public comment regarding the subject matter of said hearing is permitted and welcome. 5, a member of the public may speak only upon recognition by the town supervisor. 6, any member of the public wishing to speak at a town meeting must sign in upon entering the town board meeting room and provide their name and topic they wish to be heard on, which information shall be used by the supervisor to recognize speakers. 7, if there is no sign-in sheet or you are appearing virtually, a member of the public may raise their hand until recognized by the supervisor and then state their name and, if applicable, group affiliation and the subject they are addressing. 8, if recognized, one may only speak for a total of 3 minutes. Said time may not be reserved nor transferred to another member of the public. 9, the administrative assistant to the town board or designee shall serve as the timekeeper and provide an expiration warning. 10, any comments made by the public must be directed to the board and not made to anyone in the audience. 11, during a town meeting, members of the public shall not speak to each other while in the town board meeting room, but may do so outside thereof. 12, town meeting participants, including both town officials and members of the public, must observe proper decorum. 13, personal, impertinent, or slanderous attacks on any member of the public or town officials is prohibited. 14, the use of profane, vulgar, inflammatory, threatening, disparaging language or racial, ethnic, or sexual slurs at any time toward any person is prohibited. 15, political speeches or calls for political action are prohibited. 16, banners, flyers, and signs are not permitted in the meeting room. 17, any person who fails to abide by the rules of conduct or otherwise acts in a boisterous or inappropriate manner shall be barred from any further participation in the meeting. 18, any person who violates the rules of conduct and refuses to cease upon directives from the supervisor shall be removed from the reading room.
Okay. Before I make the motion to vote, I just want to say that, we've been discussing for quite a while now that the way the town is run and the way we do things sometimes aren't what's written in the code. So we're trying to make sure that what we do and what is written are the same thing. And it's become obvious to us that some of the work sessions and meetings have gotten a little out of control. And we're trying to put these rules in order on paper, and then we're going to keep them. And the hardest part will be for us to enforce them, and the fact that we have to time the people talking and identify the people and keep it moving smoothly. And it'll take a little while for us to get that, used to doing that, but we will let the public speak, but we're going to have a little more decorum in our meetings.
And I want to back up what Jerry just said about, reasonable behavior, which is what the expectation is, and that we have a process in place. But the number one reason why we're doing this, we only meet usually once a week with our town board meetings. This is an opportunity for the five of us to get together and get work done. And that really is, I think we collectively felt that we were getting bogged down with so many other things that we weren't maximizing the effort here at town board work sessions. And I think that's something that I was in favor of, having some structure here. So there's, as everybody's aware, there's plenty of things out there for us to do. And we need to get through these action items and get some resolutions passed. So I think it's a good effort to move in that direction.
Okay.
Mhm.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas the superintendent of highways has requested permission to purchase a new wheel loader, and whereas the superintendent wishes to expend funds from the Highway Capital Reserve Fund for said equipment as follows: $48,000 for each of 4 years, 2022 through 2025, to purchase a new wheel loader. And whereas equipment exceeds the period of probable usefulness as defined in the local finance law, section 11, making the withdrawal from the Highway Capital Reserve Fund subject to a permissive referendum pursuant to General Municipal Law 6C. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby approves the aforementioned withdrawals from the Highway Capital Reserve Fund for said purchase for a total not to exceed $192,000. And be it further resolved that within 10 days after the adoption of this resolution by the town board, the town clerk shall, as set forward in Town Law 90, post and publish a notice which shall set forth the adoption of this resolution and contain an abstract of this resolution, concisely stating the purchase and effect thereof. Such notice shall specify that such resolution was adopted subject to a permissive referendum upon such approval, and be it further resolved that this resolution is adopted subject to a permissive referendum pursuant to General Municipal Law 6C, and shall not take effect until 30 days from the date of publication in the official newspaper of the town. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute the proposed consulting agreement between the town of Shelter Island and East End Computers LLC for the sum of $30,750 for the provision of the following services to the town for the year 2022: IT management software, general labor related to IT management software and other services, file and folder backup, and disaster recovery backup system. So moved.
Councilman Colligan seconds and votes aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This has reference to the CPAC membership. Whereas the town board established the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee consisting of 12 members, and whereas said committee has requested said committee to be reduced to 10 members, now therefore be it resolved that effective immediately, the membership of the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee is hereby set at 10 members. And be it further resolved that the existing roster of 10 sitting members are hereby designated to constitute the membership of the new committee. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas the town board established a recreation commission on August 4th, 2017, consisting of 7 members. And whereas the commission has requested said commission be reduced to 5 members, now therefore be it resolved that effective immediately, the membership of the Recreation Commission is hereby set at 5 members. And be it further resolved that the existing roster of 5 sitting members are hereby designated to constitute the membership of the new commission. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas the town board established a Green Options Advisory Committee on May 9th, 2008, and whereas said establishment did not designate the membership of said committee, now therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby establish that said committee shall be constituted by 7 members, and be it further resolved that the sitting 6 members shall be the roster for said Green Options Advisory Committee, and be it further resolved that Steve Sanders is hereby appointed to serve as a member of said committee for a term to expire on May 10th, 2024. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas due to the resignation of one elected assessor, and whereas the town board has determined that the two sitting assessors should receive compensation for their additional workload, now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $22,376.62 is hereby transferred from the A1355.100 salary account and dispersed as follows. $8,688.31 to the A1355.101 salary account, $8,688.31 to the A1355.102 salary account, and $5,000 to the A1355.105 consultant account for said salary increases. So moved.
Councilman Colligan seconds, votes aye.
All those in favor?
Aye. Whereas Happy Groundhog Corner LLC was awarded a conditional rebate of up to $15,000 for each of two systems to be installed at 18 Manwaring Road. And whereas the applicant rescinded its application for an additional rebate of $15,000 for the house, be it further resolved that resolution number 318-2021 is hereby amended to state that the WQI-AB recommended one conditional rebate of up to $15,000 for the cottages. And be it further resolved that the resolution number 318-2021 is hereby amended to state that the town board approves one conditional rebate of up to $15,000 for the cottages and removes the agreement to rent at least one unit on the premises at the HUD fair market rent for at least the next 5 years. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be given to the Water Quality Improvement Advisory Board and the Building Department. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas the Taylor's Island Foundation has requested permission to apply for a grant from the Robert David Lyon Gardner Foundation in the amount of $10,000. Said grant to be utilized to create an online tour of the property, an audio narration with photos and/or videos, creation and placement of QR codes concerning the property to provide visitors with virtual docent tour of the cabins, etc. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby approve the foundation's application request for said grant. So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
be it resolved that the town board hereby calls for a public hearing to be held at 4:46 PM prevailing time on the 11th day of March 2022 in the Shelter Island Town Hall, Shelter Island, New York, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or opposition to a proposed local law entitled Amendments to Town Board Permits, to wit, be it enacted by the town board of the town of Shelter Island as follows. Section 1, purpose. The town board is authorized to grant wetlands permits and certain special permits. Recently, there has been an increase in requests by applicants to alter designs after such permits were already granted. Certain minor changes that have no impact on the environment, nor the public's health, safety, and welfare, and are otherwise code compliant, need not go through a full amendment process. However, others do, and clarification is needed within the code as to when. Section 2, amendment of Chapter 129. Chapter 129, Wetlands, shall be amended as follows. Section 129-4H to be amended as follows. H, any deviation from the survey/site plan or construction plans approved in connection with a duly issued wetlands permit shall require an amendment to the subject wetlands permit unless said deviation is deemed de minimis by the chief building inspector. The amendment follows the same process as a new wetlands permit. Section 129-8 to be amended to include de minimis any proposed change to an improved survey/site plan or construction plans that do not, 1, increase an encroachment into the regulated area. 2, encroach into the regulated area in a different configuration. 3, increase water consumption at the subject property. 4, lead to erosion, reduce containment of stormwater, negatively impact native vegetation. 5, fully comply with any other companion approvals. 6, fully comply with any of the provisions of Chapter 133 zoning. And 7, fully comply with Chapter 129. Section 3, amendment of Chapter 133. Chapter 133 zoning, Section 133-34.1A to be added as follows. A, Any deviation from the survey/site plan or construction plans approved in connection with the town board issued special permit shall require an amendment to the permit unless said deviation is deemed de minimis by the chief building inspector. The amendment follows the same process as a new special permit. Section 133-1 to be amended to include de minimis. Any proposed change to an improved survey/site plan or construction plans that do not, 1, increase water consumption at the subject property, 2, fully comply with any other companion approval, and 3, fully comply with any of the provisions of Chapter 133 zoning. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That was the last one.
It was the last one. Okay, at this time, we're gonna recess the meeting and we're gonna open public hearing on the Mark's mooring application. Dot? You're on mute, Dot. Wait, Dot, you're still on mute. I'm sorry. There you go. Nope, you hit it. Yep.
I know. Application of Andrew Mark, 7 Larry Lane, to install a mooring off Hoffman C 2721 at a location designated as latitude 41.083586 degrees north and longitude 72.321942 degrees west.
Yeah,
What do you have on this one?
yeah, I believe we approved it, right, Christina?
November 1st,
November 1st?
2021.
Yeah.
What do you mean we approved it?
The Waterways Committee.
Oh, Waterways. approved. Oh,
Waterways,
oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay. Any comments on this one? Okay, we'll close that hearing and open the hearing on the Hand and Vidal mooring application.
Carlo has a hand up on Zoom. I don't know if that's regarding this.
The application of Sarah Hand and Raul Vidal, 6 Cozy Lane, to install a stake mooring and pulley system at Town Landing at Bay Shore Drive, stake 65 feet northwest of Monument and south side of landings. Pulley line going parallel to W3340 pulley line, anchor at 75 feet offshore to match W3340. Stake to be on Silver Beach Association property of which applicants are members at a location designated as 41.053913 degrees north and longitude 72.357176 degrees west.
Yeah, that was approved.
But Jim, if I may, or Supervisor?
Yes,
Yes, was that the one that was subject to the boat being floating at all times?
it was actually, you're right, that was. That actually,
Can we insert that now, that condition?
yeah, that condition was said that it was voted 5-0 based on the fact that the vessel needed to remain floating at all times. That was the condition. Because to be honest with you, the picture of it, in the water showed that it was actually up on dry land and it wasn't just moored properly, that it needed, to be out further. And that was the condition. They did approve it at that location for that person, but with the condition that the vessel remain floating at all times.
Which location did you approve it at now?
At Bay
What you
Shore,
have.
right there. Yep.
The location you have, Dottie, that's
Oh,
the
it's the
correct
right
location.
one? Oh, okay.
Yes.
What's the problem
Yep.
then?
Yeah, the location's
Um,
right. I don't know how you word it, that it has to be in the water.
The boat next to it at low tide is is dry. And so.
Oh, I saw that. I'm just saying, how do we word it that the boat has
Oh.
to, Stephen?
Subject to the
Boat
boat.
has to be.
Take what it,
See what they say.
proof that.
Proof that.
Yeah.
Put it in there when you
there's,
read the resolution.
Will do.
there are seagrasses right in that area, that Silver Beach property actually.
All right, we don't have, you
Yeah.
can work on that.
Yeah, we've got plenty
Okay.
of
Right.
hearings.
Any other
to go.
comment on that one?
No.
Okay, thanks, BJ. Okay, we'll close that hearing and open the hearing on the Eisenberg mooring application.
Application of Aaron Eisenberg, 10 Larry Lane, to install a mooring in Cockles Harbor, approximately 190 feet east of applicant's dock mooring location formerly occupied by Denahan C 3350 mooring, designated as latitude 41.0826275 degrees north and longitude 72.321461 degrees west.
It was, to the best of my knowledge, it was approved.
In
Yeah,
December.
in December, yeah.
Okay, any
Right,
comments on the
February.
Eisenberg mooring application? Okay, we'll close that hearing and open the hearing on the Tarlow bulkhead application.
The application of Richard Tarlow, 2011 Trust, 25 Nostrand Parkway, to remove and replace in place approximately 486 linear feet of existing timber bulkhead and plus 19-foot southerly timber return with vinyl bulkhead and return, backfill with approximately 100 cubic yards of clean sandy fill to be trucked in from an approved upland source, and temporarily disconnect / remove / replace in kind in place intersection portion of dock / ramp as needed.
By a vote of 6-0 at the meeting that was held on February 16th this past week, that was approved.
Okay, any comments on the Tarlow application? Okay, we'll close that hearing and open the hearing on the High Point Rock LLC bulkhead application.
The application of High Point Rock LLC, care of John Borthwick, 71C Nostrand Parkway, to remove and dispose of 111 feet of existing bulkhead and construct 111 feet of new bulkhead in kind in place.
At a meeting held on February 16th, the vote was 5-0-1. I believe the one vote was a committee member that came late to the meeting and didn't hear the entire discussion about that. So he elected to recuse himself there from that vote or abstain from that vote. So it's 5-0-1 to approve.
Okay, any comments on this one?
He actually owns the property to the south also, so that makes it.
Okay, we'll close that hearing and open the hearing on the Fifield mooring application. Dot?
The application of John and Sandra Fifield, 3 Heritage Drive to install a mooring in Cockles Harbor off Captain Bob's Landing, 100 feet northeast of the Smith C 3172 mooring.
That was approved by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, any comments on the Fifield application? Okay, we'll close that hearing and open the hearing on the Daily mooring application.
The application of David Daly, 33 New York Avenue, to install a mooring in West Neck Bay off the town landing near Calca Hill at a location designated as latitude 41.065103 degrees north and longitude 72.363803 degrees west.
Okay, that was approved with new grid coordinates, but it was approved 6-0, moved very slightly. New grid coordinates for that would be latitude 41.065, same as before, 195 north, longitude 72.364405 west. The reason being was just a little bit too close to a neighboring mooring. We moved it over slightly. Those were the new coordinates.
Okay, any comments on that one? We'll close that hearing and open the hearing on the Top Lift mooring application. Dot?
Oh, you're muted, Dot. Somehow you muted.
There you go.
The application of Noah Toplip, 16 Jasper Road, to install a mooring in Cockles Harbor at Captain Bob's Landing, midway between the Coil C 012 mooring and the Featherston C 2920 mooring at a location designated as latitude 41.08795 degrees north and longitude 72.323411 degrees west.
Yes. The top loft was not acted upon, was the only application that we did not act on. There was a need to amend the existing application.
Okay, so we'll recess that hearing. And we'll open the public hearing on the Sapin Wetlands application.
The application of Josh Sapan, 22 Prospect Avenue, for a wetlands permit to reconstruct stair to beach with new layout and same general location and install 2 storage sheds at bottom of bluff.
Okay, we have a,
I
have
thought
a
that
CAC.
changed.
wanna
I
know.
thought that
Planning board
changed to,
first?
I thought that changed to
It
one.
has to go
story.
by the original application.
Okay.
Yep.
okay, you want to give us the, the planning board's here, CAC?
Yeah, the CAC, we've received from the CAC and the planning board comments. This is from Matt Sherman. I'm just responding to his concerns that CAC had brought up. He's mailing 12 hard copies of the attached plan back to the town clerk's office with the following 7 changes. Change number 1, removal of the 2 storage sheds at the base of the stairs. Number 2, removal of the concrete footings at the proposed support posts. Number 3, shifting of the walkway at the top to a line next to the existing stair to allow for easier construction. 4, adding a note clarifying that the proposed stair layout will be adjusted during construction to account for trees, roots, soil, conditions, etc. Number 5, addition of 1 storage shed at the first landing up from the bottom. Number 6, added material storage area based at the HPOC comments and questions. And number 7, clarified that the existing stair footings will remain and the post will be cut to the top of the footings or existing grade, whichever is higher. Those are,
That's the CAC.
that's what Matt sent back in reference to CAC, plus the pipe had been, the pipe that was there needed to be removed, was being removed.
Okay, and Amber, you have this planning
Yeah.
board?
Yeah, I was going to say Meg and I are taking turns with the planning board findings on the 4 applications today. So for Sapin, it will be very difficult to install erosion protection on the bluff. We recommend, and they have a whole write-up, but these are the pertinent issues. We recommend the following control provisions. 1, any footing should be dug in and backfilled on the same day. 2, to the greatest extent possible, the existing and new stairs are to be used to bring in new and remove old material. Foot traffic on the bluff surface should be limited. 3, old posts should be cut at grade with their footing abandoned in place. 4, the trunk and root mat of any live or dead tree that is to be removed is to remain in place. The removal of live trees is to be limited. 5, any disturbed area is to be planted with shade/sand tolerant plants that produce thick root mats. Planting should be inspected prior to the issuance of a certificate of completion. And last, 6, actually, no, there's more. I'm sorry. The lowest flight of steps should be constructed in a way that limits their exposure to storm damage. And then it goes on to say the project proposes 2 5-by-6-foot sheds. The interior space of these will be approximately 4 feet by 5 feet and seemingly of limited utility. The grade in their proposed location drops 3 feet to 4 feet back to front, which will make them difficult to use. Not access stair is being proposed. The eastern shed is proposed in an area affected by the recent slide. The grade may not be stable enough to support the shed. Last, the beach is routinely subject to storm erosion. Though they are shown anchored with helical piles, how they sit on the ground and what could happen to the ground under them during storm surge is not understood. The applicant is proposing to install a water spigot at the bottom of the stair and shielded path lights along its length. We are not concerned about either and recognize the pathway lights add safety to the nighttime use of the stairs. We submit the following recommendations. The new stairs will provide a greater ease and safety of use over the existing. It will allow the homeowner with continued access to their shoreline. We hope that the new structure can be installed with a minimal of ground disturbance, especially posts and their footings. With these considerations, the planning board recommends approval of the wood stairs. Without a better understanding of how the sheds will be situated, accessed, and maintained, we cannot support their construction.
Okay, we have with us Stella Gudis, the general manager of the Heights Property Owners Corporation. Stella, you want to come up and rather than me read your, you want to do your points?
So, hi, everyone. As Supervisor Siller said, I'm representing the Shelter Island Heights Property Owners Corporation, and we are nearby neighbors to everyone in the Heights because we own all the roads. The Property and Roads Committee is in support of having these stairs replaced and making them safer. We are actually working off the January 19th, 2022 plans, which I saw Matt is actually on the phone, and I'm sure he will speak to that. We are not experts, and clearly a number of the comments that we had in the letter that we submitted were covered by either the planning board or the CAC. But we did want to just plant the questions to this town board about that big pipe that is protruding. I don't think any of us really understands what that was for or where it goes. And I know the recommendation is that we keep that in place. That it be removed.
Yeah.
My question is that the right decision?
Yeah.
I mean, is there another way to potentially abandon that pipe such that we don't have to do any more disturbance? We are only concerned about the fragility of that bluff. I know that the applicant is concerned about it. I think everyone's concerned about it. So that was one question. The other thing that was not clear is that if you looked at the pictures that we submitted, there are concrete footings that are kind of dangling. So I'm hoping that all of those will be removed. We think if they just remain, it's a problem. And that we would hope that all heavy equipment would be where Matt showed it to be, on the top of the bluff, far away from the crest of the bluff. But there'd also be no heavy equipment either on the beach or on the bluff. So those are just food for thought, which again, were touched on. And then there were some conditions that we asked you to consider. Some of them are pretty intuitive and they're either part of the town code. So yes, lighting is important. It's for safety, but that should be within the town code for dark skies. We would also ask that any water that goes down to the end of the steps at the beach, it doesn't promote further erosion, and that anything that the utilities, I believe, are supposed to be put under the steps rather than being underground. So if that could be put in the resolution, that would be helpful. So again, we're in support of this project. We think it's a good project, and anything that can be done to further protect the bluff, we'd appreciate.
Yeah. I just a couple of comments. Number one, the interesting perspective on the pipe, about whether it's more advantageous to remove it or not to remove it. Does anything come out of it? If it doesn't, does it have to be removed? And the other comment that I had was, I talked to Matt online here the other night about the amount of erosion that's occurring along that shoreline is not just for this property, but for all the properties. That this is a major investment to put in a new staircase. I would think it's a little bit of a challenge because it's a pretty steep area, and it's subject, though, to this constant high tide and storm damage. That maybe putting some type of boulders at the bottom of the,
Like a rock revetment.
a rock revetment around this area might be a wise investment to just help stabilize that area a little bit more, because regardless of what you do, Mother Nature's going to have her way, and it's not getting any better. Just looked at the number of trees that were down on the hill. There's a lot of trees that are already down on the hill from erosion down below, that halfway up a hill, up 15, 20, 25 feet, it's impacting those trees that are, halfway or 2/3 of the way up the hill. So anything that can be done to stabilize the bottom of that hill, for all those neighbors along there, they might want to look at that.
Yeah, and we're very happy that the two structures are off the beach.
Yeah.
So that's a real plus.
Right. Okay.
Okay, Matt,
Thank you.
thanks, Del.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Matt Sherman with Sherman Engineering and Consulting. I'm on. Josh Sapin, who's the property owner, is also on. You guys done a very good job describing the project and describing what it is we're looking to do, as well as the reviews of both the CAC, the planning board, and the Heights weighing in. We had gotten a lot of that information already, and one of the reasons why we submitted revised plan was by taking some of those concerns into consideration, making adjustments, and coming out with what I think is ultimately a better plan now than it was when we first submitted it to the town. If I could get screen sharing enabled, I've got some. Not a whole lot, but a few slides and pictures I'd like to share.
She's working on it, Matt.
Good to go.
Okay, the site, I'm not gonna dwell too much on the overall site, but the site is on Prospect Avenue. You've got Shelter Island Sound, what I'll say to the north, more to the northwest. The stairs that go down the beach are running right along here from there's a main area where the house is, and then it drops down from about 110 feet down to about 80 feet. So a pretty decent drop coming down to where the top of the stairs are at about 80 feet. And then they go down the hillside to about 4 or 5 feet or so at the bottom of the hill, where it then slopes down into the beach. This is a zoomed in section, video or zoomed in picture of the stair area. This lighter colored stair is the existing stair. The darker one is what we're proposing. So we're trying as much as we reasonably can to stay in line with the existing stair where it makes sense. We've split it up into smaller sections so you don't have as much of an area you need to walk before you get to a landing or a resting point. So we tried to mimic kind of what you would see in a residential stairway. So you didn't have this very long distance to get it first. Let me go back for a quick second. This at the bottom of the stair, originally we'd had those 2 storage sheds flanking the bottom of the stair where it came down to the beachfront. The DEC approved that. We'd actually modeled that design based on another stair down the beach, just right down the road, just a couple of doors down, which had the identical 2 storage sheds at the foot of the stairs. But taking everybody's, the heights, the planning board and the CAC's comments into consideration, we decided to abandon that idea and bring that landing up here, or that shed up to this first inner landing. Coming down, this is a general profile coming down the hillside. So you've got a relatively steep run. So what we've done is, in order to make it so that we could keep the DEC's minimum 3-foot elevation above that hillside, we made a series of jogs, which enables you to have a couple of resting spots in the middle, keep that height up, don't get any one set of stairs going too far in a given direction up or down. The other thing that we've done, the drawings that I've submitted for the wetlands application show a number of intermediate posts as you go through each one of these sections. I've got some photos that I'll show you in just a second of the way we envision constructing this. The idea is to minimize the amount of posts, but it really depends on where those different landings are going to end up. And where those landings end up is going to depend on where we've got better soils that are a little bit more cohesive, where we've got tree roots of either existing or old trees that we need to modify our layout in order to get around or in order to accommodate. This is the existing stair. It's treacherous to say the least. Stella had mentioned some of these footings, like this footing here. There's some down on the bottom. Yes, of course, those are coming out. There's no way to keep them. If we're rebuilding the stairs, they've got to come out. As you're coming up this stairway, you can see to the left-hand side, this is the area that the planning board had talked about of some significant erosion. And this is actually a bit of what looks like a history of a landslide that came down this area. You can see by the significant amount of erosion at some of these posts and this vertical wall here, that looks like where that landslide had occurred. So what we're going to try and do is stay on that left-hand side of the stair where we've already got some damage, and stay away from the right-hand side where that face of that bluff is still very well held in place by the vegetation that's there. It may require deeper, I've called out a 5 to 6 foot minimum depth of embedment for those posts in some of those areas where it's a sandier soil and a not as cohesive and not as held together as well, we may have to go deeper. We have to kind of play it by ear. We don't want to go any deeper than we have to, because the deeper you go, the more damage you risk doing. But we also have to make sure that based on the soils that we encounter, we go deep enough so that we adequately put an adequate foundation underneath this stairway. There's a little bit better picture of where that landslide occurred, where you've got this this vertical face. And then again, on the flip side of the stairway, it's it looks like it's being held together very, very well. This is an example of the kind of stair we're looking to do. Oh, one, never mind. Let's see, let me go back. And what we've got is 6x6 posts, and we're going to be going down to as long of a run as we can. I'm envisioning having no posts in the midspan of any of the stairways, and we can go quite a distance if we goose up the ledgers on either side. We can go quite a distance, and so we won't have to do those intermediate spans. Same thing with the landings. If we go from have posts at one end of the landing, we can extend quite a way. So each landing and the next starting set of stairs will have 4 posts and not more posts in between. That's the general idea of how we'd like to have this fall out. It ends up having let me stop my screen share. It ends up coming out with I was estimating probably about 30 footings, give or take. But again, it really depends on what we encounter as we start working our way down the hillside. I envision starting at the top and working our way down. And as I don't remember whether it was the Heights, the CAC, or the Planning Board, but one of them had recommended that we use the existing stair as much as we can to bring material down, and the new stair to bring material out. That's exactly what we're planning on doing. The idea of minimizing the amount of impact on the area around where we're constructing is really paramount. We're looking to put in the posts with either post hole diggers if it's shallow enough. Once you get over about 3 feet, you really have to use a hand auger, which is still a handheld piece of machinery, but you can go much deeper with that. We aren't going to be using any heavy equipment. We can't. The town wetlands code doesn't allow us to. We have to use hand tools. So that's what's going to be going in and out. We're going to be doing the minimal amount of clearing on either side of the work area. The idea that the planning board had of making sure that any posts that we excavate for are filled before the end of the day, so you don't have any open holes. Absolutely, that's good construction practice. So all of the recommendations we are going to take into account and incorporate them as much as we can. The only thing that I do have to stress is, because we're going to be modifying this as we go, I'll be working closely with the property owner and with the contractor to make sure that this falls out in an efficient way. So stopping and letting the building department know, or the Heights or whomever else, of any changes to the layout as currently proposed is probably not very practical. If the changes are significant, if we're going 20 feet one direction and the other, of course, we got to let everybody know, because that's a significant change. But if we're going to go a couple of feet one way or the other, then I'd like to have the latitude to do that, just so that we can keep the project rolling and have it fall out in a logical, common sense manner. I know that Josh Sapin, who's the property owner, he had a couple of things he wanted to mention. So I will stop talking and mute myself and let him speak to the board.
Thank you, Matt. Can you guys hear me? Am I on
Yep.
or not?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I just would say I would thank everybody for all of their consideration, the town committees and you and Matt. I'm really more of a novice. All I would say is I'm hoping to accomplish this, to be able to use the stairs that are that are a little treacherous now in a manner that's safe. And as Matt mentioned, the sheds, which I was emulating, I thought the pike sheds that were down the beach, and I thought that would be simple because they were approved. But when we saw the response of the town about elevating them, and we eliminated one and put the other one up just to be able to store stuff, as a 71-year-old, actually, to be very selfish about it, I'm simply trying to get down the beach and not have to run up 110 stairs to get stuff when I forget it. It's quite a haul up there. So that's my big consideration. Safety, protection of environment, respect for what's there, no more erosion, and the ability to access the beach and use it.
Great.
By the
Okay,
way, I
thank
have lived in the Heights for 23 years. We were at 16 Clinton Avenue, and I thank Stella and everybody there for making it a wonderful place. And I hope we can do this in a way that's sympathetic with all the concerns.
Thank you, Josh. Anybody else want to speak? Okay, nobody wants to say anything. We'll close that hearing and we'll open the hearing on the Kushner Wetlands application. Dot?
The application of Thomas Kushner, 11 Dickerson Drive, for a wetlands permit to construct new in-ground swimming pool outside a vegetative buffer, but within the adjacent regulated area.
Yeah. Howard is the chairperson for the CAC. Survey was outdated. It's been updated. The inaccurate site plan is used to indicate proposed work. So he wanted the updated site plan, and that has been done. I got an email from Matt based on January 10th, I believe, of this year. The items corrected from the November 2020 survey used as a basis for the site plan. Number one, they have since moved the driveway with town board, town building department approval. So they moved that driveway over. Number two, they put a new hot tub next to the deck, but I'm recommending they take it out and apply for it after the wetlands application is complete. And that was put in there without the proper authority. Number three, the new septic is shown on the proposed site plan and is in the driveway right in front of the house. I've added the blower and the control panel next to the building. And number four, the overhead electric has been moved underground. It was photographed during construction, so I've added it to the site plan. Matt, do you have anything to add other than those four corrections? Did I state them correctly?
Yes, you did. And I've got a presentation on this one as well, and we can go through. I received the updated survey this morning, so I can show what the different changes are. I don't know if you want me to step back for a second while you have the plan.
Yeah, let's do the planning board's
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
recommendations first, Matt.
I have the planning
You have
board's
it?
report, yeah. So like Jim said, the driveway had been slightly reconfigured from the initial site plan, which was reflected in the November 2nd, 2022 engineering design provided by Matt. The shed has also been relocated and a 6-foot fence has been installed encircling the proposed pool area. The house, let's see.
Want to go to the
The area in
recommendation?
which the proposed pool is to be set is relatively level and turfed, gradually sloping from elevation of 9 foot to 7 foot. The top of the pool and the patio are proposed to be raised to an elevation of 10 foot, and the level of the driveway. No trees or shrubs will need to be removed in order to put the pool in. The patio materials have not been defined other than being permeable. If proposed perimeter retaining walls were extended 3 feet above the patio grade, they would assist in containing stormwater and heavier rain events. Let's see, due to the narrow lot and Mananic Creek fronting 2 sides of the property, there is very little room to locate the pool close to the house. There is precedent for the town to permit construction of pools and patio in the adjacent regulated area. Through shifting the pool to the west would simplify construction, possibly removing the need for the retaining walls. The permit for a more regular patio, the applicant's desire to have the accessory close to the house should be considered. With these considerations and the upgrading of the sanitary system prior to or concurrent with the pool installation, the planning board recommends approval of the application.
Okay, Matt?
Thank you. Matt Sherman, Sherman Engineering again. I'm here for Tom Kushner, who's the property owner here. I'll share my screen again. I've got a couple of quick slides on this one as well to kind of give you an idea of what the project is all about. Okay, this is on Dickerson Drive and borders on Mananic Creek. Pretty much property runs from west to east. This is the original survey that we had submitted. This was done in November of 2020. Over the course of the spring and summer, the property owner had done some changes, which is what I'll show you in just a second. But as far as this survey is concerned, the wetlands flags, the wetlands was determined and flagged in September of 2020. The surveyor located it and showed it on this survey. We had received a DEC letter of non-jurisdiction for everything that is landward. I'm getting my pointer going. Everything landward of the 10-foot contour, which runs right along here. So this area here is outside of DEC jurisdiction. This area is within DEC jurisdiction. The 75-foot vegetative buffer and the next 25 feet adjacent regulated area are shown on this survey. The sanitary system as it currently exists is right here in the driveway, and that too was shown on that original survey. This is what the property owner had done between the initial application to the DEC and what we've got now. So you can see the everything here on this part of the property, the house, the deck, the retaining wall, the walkways, all of that stuff remains the same. This is going back to the original survey. It's the driveway here and this shed, those move down to the southerly property line. So outside of the regulated area, they didn't have to go to the town for a wetlands permit to do these things. They're outside of the wetlands review, but they do impact the site. So in the interest of showing an accurate site plan, we went back, we got the surveyor to locate this underground electric line, the driveway, the shed. There is something that Jim had mentioned, is there's a concrete slab right here that they had put in a little hot tub that they should have gotten a building department permit for. So they're taking that out. They'll deal with the building department on whatever violations are associated with installing that hot tub without a permit, and then either get that approved or take the whole thing out. That will be between them and the building department. So you still got the 75-foot setback and the 25-foot setback. Your zoning setbacks, 40 feet off of the road for the swimming pool, 20 feet off of the side yard line north and side yard line south. This is what we're proposing. The swimming pool is they're gonna put it right here in this area. So between the side yard setback and between the 75-foot wetlands line. So the pool itself is going to be just under 81 feet from the property line, from the wetlands boundary. And the patio is going to be just over 77 feet from the wetlands boundary. So you've got the pool and the patio wrapping around in that shape. The pool equipment will be over here next to the shed. The swimming pool dry well would be just to the north of that. This is the approximate location of the supply well for the property. It's underground, so we don't have an exact location, but it's right in this area. We're proposing as mitigation for being allowed to do this, putting in a 15-foot wide non-turf buffer. There's already vegetation along this bank, along this area, but we'll be looking to fortify it with plantings from the CAC's recommended planting list. Also, as was mentioned, taking out this walkway and removing the existing septic tank and replacing it with an IA treatment unit. So the leaching pool would stay in place. If we can, that would be up to the health department, and we'd be replacing the septic tank with the IA unit. The health department, on a situation like this where we're not obligated by their code or by anything happening at the house itself, we're not obligated to upgrade the septic. So we'd be doing something that they would see as what they refer to as a best fit installation. And in doing so, some things that we would typically have to do as far as upgrades are concerned, we may not have to. It's up to them. They've got some discretion in that manner. So we may be able to get them to just accept the existing leaching, get rid of that existing septic tank, put in the IA unit, and be done with it. Everybody wins. The control equipment, I know the CAC had asked about the control equipment for the IA unit. We would just be tucking that right over here on the side of the house. The swimming pool itself, we're looking at about a 6-foot deep pool. groundwater in this area based on the test hole information. The test hole showed it at about 4 feet, give or take, from a 4 foot, 0.4 foot elevation. So that is, we know groundwater in this area is going to be tidally influenced. It's not going to go up and down by a whole heck of a lot, but it will go down a little bit and go up a little bit. So we're estimating our high groundwater at 1 foot. Since we have to be 2 feet above high groundwater for the bottom of the swimming pool, when they excavate for the pool, we'll have them take a scoop out from when they get to the bottom of the pool, take a scoop out and see what they've got. If they hit groundwater at 1 foot, then we know we're good. If they hit groundwater a little bit higher than that, then rather than a 6 foot deep pool, it may only be a 5 foot deep pool. They may have to adjust the height of the pool depending on what they find for groundwater, because we know that we can't de-water, and we want to keep the bottom of that structure a little bit above groundwater to make sure we don't have any kind of groundwater problems. But that's the overall layout for the pool. This is the area where the pool would be going, right in this side, right in here. So that's, it kind of gives you an idea. It's at the top here, you're at about a 12-foot elevation, and it drops off. So when you're down here on the far side of the pool, you're going to be at about a 10-foot elevation. So that retaining wall that's on the outside of the pool will be right in about this ballpark. And again, 12 feet at the top, 10 feet at the bottom. This is a picture of it from last fall when we first saw the site. This is before the new driveway was done. It just gives you a little bit of a better feel for the way this area here where the pool is going. And then this is the wetlands back over here. And it kind of wraps up into the marshy area, up into that side. And then this is again looking at just a little bit, closer to the house for that same area of what we're looking at for the pool. This is a deck that's on the water side, and then this is a small retaining wall behind it, a wooden, like a railroad tie retaining wall, and then that flat area on top where that concrete, that little concrete pad and the previously installed hot tub has been removed. They're on top of that timber retaining wall with that flat gravel area above it. So that's the project in a nutshell. I think that the benefits of getting the IA system in and a little bit better, a little fortifying of the wetlands vegetation in that 15-foot buffer is a good trade-off for getting this pool. It's outside of the 75-foot vegetated buffer. It's in the adjacent regulated area. Pool equipment, pool drywall, everything else is outside of the 100-foot setback. So I think that it's a good project, and it can be an asset for the area as well as for the property.
Okay, any other comments on this one?
Okay.
Yep, Ian?
Ian McDonald from the planning board. There were two parts of that report that weren't mentioned. One, we questioned whether or not the houses in the Nearshore Peninsula overlay was built in the 80s, whether or not the house had gutters and downpipes, but we didn't know if there are dry wells or how the stormwater was being addressed. So we just like to have you guys consider it. Dry wells, stormwater recharge is required in the Nearshore Peninsula overlay. And if it doesn't exist and they're going to have machinery in, it's a good time to put it in. And the other part was storage and clearing debris on the beach. Right now, there's a lot of stuff, crab cages, boats, kayaks, floats, and other debris littering the beach. And we just feel like it should be cleaned up. It shouldn't be a storage area.
Amen. Two good points.
Thanks, Ian.
Okay. Howard?
Did he have his hand up?
Yes, I think Matt has addressed my major concerns, which was the outdated survey. And I think everything is okay. And I discussed with Matt, the test hole was done not at the maximum high tide, and he's addressed that also by saying they're going to take a test digging there. So I'm satisfied with that. And the only thing I would say, if we could put in the resolution that the new IA system be instruct at the same time the pool is installed, that we make sure that we get the IA system. We've had several projects where they've been promised and they really didn't go ahead. So in the resolution, if you could just put that in, I'd appreciate it. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Howard. Anybody else? Okay, we'll close that hearing and open the hearing on the Goodson Wetlands application. Dot?
You're muted, Dot.
I'm sorry, that keeps bouncing off. The application of Scott Goodson, 14 Margaret's Drive, for a wetlands permit to legalize stone fireplace, barbecue, and pool patio.
Okay. CSE?
The new deck and stepping stones, the pool and the fireplace are all within the applications, within the 100-foot buffer. The recommendation was that no more work in the regulated area in the future, and complete process for permitting the old work to be permitted. So I think they is that right, Howard? Did we clear on that? And they passed it by 5-0 to approve it with those two items listed above to be satisfied.
Just say the items again.
The one is that it says here, no more work in the regulated area in the future. So that it would be strictly forbidden. And number two, complete process for the permitting of the old work that was to be permitted, so.
Okay.
I don't know if he wants to elaborate on that.
Howard?
Who, can I ask a question? Whose report was that?
The CAC,
Okay.
Howard, you're on mute.
I'll just make a comment that I don't know how this ever was installed and the contractor installed it, but to me, it's a very disgraceful thing that has happened here. I understand it was built in 2007. The wetlands laws were all in effect at that time, and there was no permitting done. And when we looked at it, we said, well, it's a nice job. And to go in and remove the pool, which was our first inclination, and the fireplace might be more damaging to the wetlands than leaving it as it is. And that's why we said no more permitting for that area up to 100 foot from the wetlands. But somehow we got a contractor, this new owner, he's not responsible, but he bought the house knowing that it was a code violation. There was no permit for that, I believe. But that's a legal thing. That's not what I'm here for. So that's up to the town to address those items and, take some dealings with it, because it's a open thing that they did this violation of the code. And it was supposedly, I think, done in 2007, and the wetlands code came into effect in 2001. So that's my comments to the town.
Okay. Howard, before we let the attorney speak for the client, Ian, you want to address this, or you want
to read the planning board
you
one
want
first?
Amber to read the planning board? Okay.
Yeah, the application provided two surveys by different surveyors that differ from each other. One provided by Aerial Land Surveying, dated February 17th, 2021. And then there's a second survey by Nathan Taft Corwin dated October 22nd, 2020. And it looks like there's further research in the building department. There's a Van Tile survey and an Ellers survey as well. So all four surveys show different property line dimensions. So before the planning board can weigh in on this application, we ask for an updated survey that complies with the mapping standards outlined in the application, some of which are correctly detailed meets and bounds, wetland line delineated by an environmental consultant, vegetative buffer and regulated area setback lines depicted, setback distances for the gazebo, pool, patio, fireplace, and barbecue, calculated areas of intrusion into the vegetative buffer and adjacent regulated areas, contours at 2-foot intervals referencing NGVD 1929, especially as this is the basis for the DEC LNJ, whatever that means. Yeah. The Van Tile survey depicts well and sanitary systems locations which should be newly plotted and location of existing and proposed runoff dry wells. We likewise recommend that applicants seek a permit from the DEC for the construction or demolition of the gazebo within their jurisdiction. Last, we recognize the homeowner's right to the 100 square foot wetlands exemption and construction within the adjacent regulated area, but we would like to hear from the applicant as to how they propose to make the non-permitted construction within the vegetative buffer more compliant and what they will offer to mitigate intrusion that is to remain. Upon receipt of the updated survey, the planning board will be better able to review this application and provide a recommendation.
Okay, you good? You want to add to it or?
Well, I guess I'm just going to be repeating myself.
Right.
But there were 4 different surveys. The one survey had the side yard lines 25 feet longer and gave them 25 feet more into the creek. So when they started mapping the setbacks, it was a total different thing. And all 4 surveys had different dimensions in the side yard lengths. So I think a proper survey.
How do you define a proper survey?
Well,
I never
let's
heard
get
of this before.
well. I mean, I think the meets and bounds are recorded in the deed, and those should be applied to the actual survey. And then we get the square footages and encroachment, and none of the surveys were delineated by environmentalists. They were all just the surveyor saying mean high water by judging sand and but not plant material. So I think they're the standards that are required in the application. They should be met going forth and then properly reviewed.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Martha, do you want to speak to this?
I would. Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Martha Reichert, Toomey Latham Shea, Kelly Dubin, Quartararo, 33 West 2nd Street, Riverhead, for the applicant and owner, Scott Goodson. Thank you very much for this public hearing. I know that there's some confusion regarding the surveys, and that's a very long story, and I won't bother the board with too many details. But, this applicant bought the property knowing that he would have to legalize the patio extension, the stone fireplace, and the barbecue. And we come before you acting in good faith because we know that there is a lot of history of bad faith on this application, of prior owners not legalizing it. What happened was we hired aerial surveying to provide a survey for us, and the building department no longer accepts surveys from aerial, and rightly so, because it was the worst survey I've seen in my 12 years as a land use practitioner. That being said, the aerial survey contained topography. It also contained an updated survey markout, which was prepared by Walter Cook. So he goes and he finds the survey in the field, and then the surveyors add it. And it also showed a deck that had been constructed with a hot tub. And so during the process, because the applicant, through no fault of his own, hired a surveyor who just made a bogus survey in terms of really what everyone is looking at is that mean high water line. And, I just want to clarify a couple of things for the board and also the planning board. The deed for this property runs to mean high water, and that is a movable boundary. So, and that there's legion of court cases on that. The mean high water is a legitimate boundary, but it is also one that moves. So depending on the survey, when it was done, the time of year, you will see variations in the mean high water line. When we saw the aerial survey and it was a variation of 25 feet, we were concerned. That was a red flag for us as well. I discussed it with Lori Beard Raymond. We had the Nate Corwin survey, which we felt he is a reliable surveyor, one that has been operating in this area for a long time. And so if you look at the other surveys that we have, the 1992 Van Toyle survey, the 2005 Ayler survey, the variations are, in the 5 to 6 foot range, which is what you would expect to see over the course of time, again, depending on when mean high water is located. When the applicant purchased the property, there was a denial letter already issued by Lori Beard Raymond that took all the measurements from mean high water. And again, if you look at the building department records, the 75-foot and the 100-foot setback have always been measured from mean high water. And so that was an assumption that we operated under when we made the application. But our submission had asked that, you would look at the measurements from mean high water from the Corwin survey, and obviously not the aerial survey, because we question their mean high water line and its accuracy. But I've seen the recommendations from the planning board, and if the board feels it needs to have a flagged wetlands line, we can do that. With respect to the 10 by 10 gazebo, I already forwarded to Ms. Ogar and to Christina Martin and to Reed Karen. We obtained today what's called a warning letter, which legalizes the gazebo from the DEC. They now consider it a resolved matter. We don't contest the fact that the gazebo was constructed below the 14-foot contour line. Again, my client wasn't there in 2016 when it was legalized by the building department, but we have now gone through the proper protocol to legalize it with the DEC. So what remains here is really a question for this board of whether or not you want to have this applicant incur yet further survey expense to have the wetlands line flagged, or if we can move forward. And I leave that in your hands to make that decision. If we have to do more survey work, then we would ask to have this hearing adjourned until we can have that survey work completed and provide the board with that information. But I think that's the only outstanding item at this point.
Yeah, we definitely need a bona fide
Okay.
survey.
Yeah.
So I guess the next thing then is, does the board have any additional comments or questions that you would like the applicant to address the next time we're before you?
Not so much, just in the planning board recommendation, Martha, where they said, we recognize the homeowner's right, blah, 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 blah. We'd like to hear from the applicant as to how they propose to make the non-permitted construction within the buffer more compliant, what they will offer to mitigate intrusion. So just keep
Given
that in
that
mind. when you-
Sure. Given these structures have been here for 13 years, I also want to let everyone know that when this application was reviewed by the planning board, we received no notice of it. And so it only happened that I saw an agenda for the most recent planning board meeting that contained my application on it. But when I was there, the planning board mentioned that they had reviewed it in substance at a prior meeting, and Christina was able during the meeting to forward the planning board memo, but we received no notice of it. And I think that's something to bring to the attention just for your own internal procedures of how you handle things. Otherwise I would have appeared at the planning board and we probably could have addressed a lot of these issues so that the planning board memorandum would have contained some of this. And it would have given us a chance to discuss what would be appropriate mitigation for, a patio extension that doesn't increase density, doesn't increase wastewater calculations, and has been in existence for 13 years.
Okay.
Is it worth my just speaking briefly to
Yeah,
that?
sure.
We're an advisory board to you guys. We don't ever notify someone that we are going to be talking at a meeting. We post our agenda at least 5 days ahead of time online for that purpose. But we've never.
So just so the public understands, in this instance, you're advisory to us.
Correct.
Normally, if it was a planning issue, you'd be standalone.
Absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
everybody understands that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And since it's your public hearing and
Right.
your process, you notify for your public hearing. We're just writing a report as we go to look at the property and put together our recommendations for you.
So I guess the question would be, how can we make it work better? How do we notify,
This is the first time someone has taken issue with our process.
Mhm.
If we run into this more frequently, we'll certainly change our practice. But right now, we don't understand why we would need to.
Yeah, this is the public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I fully understand this is the public hearing, but it would have been nice to know that a different board was holding a work session as opposed to the board that's holding the public hearing for a work session.
Mhm. All right, we'll discuss that and figure out how we can make it a better situation. Okay. All right.
The stuff that was non-permitted, you know,
Mhm.
the gazebo, the fireplace. It's a big fireplace, by the way. It's a pretty big structure. Those things, can, when we word this thing out, do we word it in such a way that if they can't be replaced? I mean, if we decide not to,
I don't think we're at that point.
oh, we're
yet.
not at that
Yeah,
point. Okay,
no.
okay, all right, okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay, so we should recess this? Adjourn it?
Adjourn it, yeah.
Okay. Okay, anybody else want to talk before we,
Prior to adjourning it, are you going to set a date to which it's being adjourned to?
Be then March
it's
11th.
going to be based on the wetlands, no? Getting the survey?
Correct.
I
Yes,
would
we
rec-
don't know how long it's going to take you to get the survey, so if we move.
I have everything lined up, so I don't think we'll be able to make the March 11th meeting, but if we could continue it perhaps to towards the end of March, that I should have surveys, and if not, then I'll request an additional adjournment, but
Well, the next one would be April 8th.
Yeah.
April 8th would be the next town board meeting then,
all right, then I would respectfully request an adjournment until April 8th.
okay? Okay.
Can you give the planning board a little bit of time to look at it and see the survey?
Oh, yeah. When do you meet?
They meet on the 12th of March.
We have a month or so.
We
can move.
we could always adjourn it if you didn't have enough time to review it.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it would behoove you to get that, and I know getting surveyors to work right now. Well, no, let me take that back. They're overworked. Just to get your survey done, it's gonna take some time, but if you could keep us in the loop and let us know what the status is on that, then we can plan accordingly.
Absolutely.
can set it for-
Who should
Set it
I,
for-
who would you like me to contact in terms of keeping everyone in the loop?
I'd say the clerk to the planning board, yeah,
Christina Martin.
yeah.
So the clerk to the
And
planning
town
board, all
clerk,
right.
and town.
Oh, the
Yeah,
town
town
clerk,
clerk.
and CC the town clerk on all correspondence, right, thank you.
Of course.
Okay.
All right. Oh, finally, we didn't really discuss, and I don't know if maybe that's something to work session with the planning board, what this board is considering they would like to see in terms of mitigation.
We're not at that point.
We're not yet, we
Okay.
kind of took a recommendation from the planning board and the CAC, so we're not really ready for that. BJ,
I
did you have
understand.
something you wanted to say?
No, I was just, no, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to adjourn that hearing. And we're going to open the hearing on the McCarthy wetlands application.
The application of Whitney McCarthy, 9 Locust Avenue for a wetlands permit to renovate an existing covered porch, construct a new crawl space under existing dwelling, construct new stairs from porch to grade, and construct new walkway to road, all within the adjacent regulated area.
Jim, you have anything?
Yeah, CAC met on December 13th, looked at this application, approved it 5-0 with the following 2 recommendations. The showing of the downspouts on the site plan itself, and move the new dry wells in the direction and closer to the area where the propane tanks are located.
Okay. Planning board?
I'll read the planning board report because I think that Ian's on this one, right? All right. So this application is a partial demolition of the existing masonry block and rubble foundation at the rear portion of the first and second floors of the house, with a subsequent replacement with an enlarged poured concrete foundation and a large 2-story living area. A demolition of a section of the existing front porch, which is approximately 65 square feet, facing the neighboring dwelling, and replacement with a new concrete foundation and single-story addition to create a first-floor bathroom area in the same footprint. A new Bilco door, replacement of front porch piers and decking with new stairs at the side of the porch. New HVAC equipment about 6 feet from the rear property line, and new electrical service. The work requiring a town wetlands permit in the 75 to 100 foot adjacent foot regulated area includes the replacement of the front porch piers, decking, and the new side steps of the porch. replacement of the existing brick walkway, excavation of existing basement area with new crawl space and new electrical service. So there's no work in the 0 to 75-foot vegetative buffer area. All other work is proposed outside of the wetlands area. So it's a limited amount of work happening in that 75 to 100-foot area.
Okay.
Let's see. No clearing is required for the work. The ZBA approval is subject to the conditions that there be no further expansion of the square foot of the SFLA structures, walks, patios, no further footprint coverage expansion on the property's northwest side. It also requires that the property shall be sold and transferred together with the applicant's other lot mentioned above, which is 6 Meadow Lane, so long as the non-conforming accessory structure exists on the property. Planning board saw no evidence of underground oil tanks, and the applicant says that there are none. The applicant asserts that there will be no adverse environmental impacts from this project, but proposes installing silt fence along the property line. That the new construction shall be compliant with current energy codes. New dry wells will collect all runoff from the roof. Because the existing lot is substandard, it's 0.10 acres, that the town precludes further expansion beyond the current scope of work, including adding bedrooms in the future, and that the town precludes staging or storing of materials or vehicles in the regulated wetlands during construction. Other than that, they recommend approval as submitted with those two recommendations.
Okay, Matt, did you want to speak or did you want to hear the concerns of the Heights Association?
Yeah, if I could speak, I appreciate that on behalf of the property owners, Whitney and Ted McCarthy, who are online right now, and their architect, Ian McDonald, who's in the room. Again, I got a real quick presentation just to show you the overall overriding themes of this project and what it is we're looking to do. Yeah, the screen on this one. So it's a very small lot on Auburn Place and Locust. It's actually Locust Avenue, but the surveyor, Auburn and Locust kind of coming together right here in this area. You've got Chase Creek and the wetlands just to the northeast of the property. So this is the existing house and the existing lot at 9 Locust. The property owners, that one of the things that the ZBA had referenced, they also have a property on Meadow Place. There's a Heights alley that runs down between Auburn and Meadow, and they have the properties on either side. This will come into play in a second when it comes to storing of materials and staging of equipment and whatnot in order to not have to do anything within the regulated area or impact neighboring properties with material. This is a close-up of the overall site. Again, Locust Avenue here, the existing house and existing covered porch. The covered porch as it currently is 78 feet 5 inches from the wetlands, or just over 78 feet. And the house is just under 88 feet from that vegetated wetlands boundary. That wetlands boundary was located in September of 2020, so it's a current boundary. The dry wells that had been mentioned are, we've got either 1 or 2, depending on how deep you want it, we can make them. These are both 8x6 dry wells. We also could do 8x8, single 8x8 dry well if we wanted to consolidate them into one. There's some plantings in this area that we're going to want to make sure that we stay away from and don't run a risk of damaging those. But those are the dry wells that the CAC had talked about. The wetland setbacks, 75-foot setback. So this first area here is that vegetated buffer, which includes the road. And then 25 feet is the adjacent regulated area. The actual addition to the house, that first floor addition, which is encompassing a portion of the existing covered porch, is outside of that 100-foot setback, just barely outside, but it's outside of it. So that building addition is not part of what we're asking the town board to consider. This small area here, the small stair, it's 11 square feet. That doesn't exist now, but that'll give us access from the renovated porch to get it down to grade right here. The porch as I said, exists. The stairs currently exist, and the brick walkway that goes from those stairs out to Locust Avenue is there now, and we're just looking to rehabilitate that brick walkway. The area of new foundation underneath the house, which is currently just masonry piers and will turn into a crawl space, is just over 200 square feet in this area right here. I'll show you a slide in a second, which is just to give you a bigger idea of the overall project. The majority of the foundation is there's a rubble wall foundation in this area here and a concrete block foundation in this area. Those are going to be redone. But this area, the majority of the house is just on piers right now. So it's going to get a proper foundation. There's going to be additions, which again are outside of the wetlands purview, but additions to the rear of the house on the first floor, and then also some additions on the second floor of the house. To kind of give you a little bit of focus on what the ZBA had been looking at, this is the building envelope for the property. So with your 40-foot front yard setback, 25 side yard setbacks, and rear yard setback, you've got this little 10 by 10 square is where you'd be able to build on this property as of right. This is the house right here. This is Locust, and here's the wetlands coming down along through here of the creek. So this is their other property that's on Meadow. So in the concerns that the whether it was the CAC or the planning board rose about not having storage in this area here, which would be within that regulated area of the wetlands, it's not necessary. We can use the area behind for equipment storage, vehicles, staging, things along those lines. Gives you a little bit of a better idea. This is the McCarthy's house right here. This is the property adjacent. The Heights Alley runs right down through this area here. So we would use this area for storage. Across the alley, we wouldn't be storing anything on the alley. Renovations to the house here, the dry wells would be in this approximate area here. Right now, the waste line comes from the alley to the back of the house, and the water line comes to the front, so neither of those are going to be an issue. And then again, this is that rear yard looking at the house, so you can get a better idea for the storage area and material area. This is the foundation as it currently exists. The roadside Locust Avenue would be over here. So this is the covered porch. These are those piers. This area here is the rubble wall foundation. This area here is the masonry foundation. And then as it gets reconstructed, we're having the crawl space here and the proper foundation here where you have mechanical equipment, things along those lines, with access coming in from your typical Bilco door. The wetlands setback would come right across like this, something ballpark in this area like this. So that, you know, the vast majority of this is outside of the wetlands area. And you've got this area here is within that regulated area. The covered porch itself, we're talking about new decking boards, some new support structure as necessary, but the majority of that covered porch is going to remain. And just to give you, again, a little perspective of the before and after, this is as the house is currently configured, and this is as the house would be if everything's approved. The area of that first floor that's being absorbed and turned in, or the deck that's being absorbed into a first floor bathroom, stands back from the front of the house. This is part of that area to the back, to the rear. That's this area right here. So you still got your covered porch wrapping around. Your wetlands comes right like this. So all of the new work that's not rehabilitating the existing, with the exception of this 11 square foot step, is all outside of the wetlands area. So with that, I will stop. If I don't know if Whitney and Ted want to speak on anything, if Ian wants to speak on anything, if the Heights or anybody else has questions, be more than happy to answer any.
Ian McDonald, I'd like to make just a quick clarification. This new crawl space that we're creating, the house is already on a block perimeter foundation. We're not disturbing that. There's a bunch of block piers on the inside and a dirt floor. All we're doing is we're having a mason come in, scrape the, level the basement a little bit so we can get some ductwork and some piping through. By the road, there's, substantial 3.5, 4 foot clearance. On the other side, we have 6 to 9 inches between the dirt and the bottom of the structure. So what we plan to do is move the dirt around, not undermining the perimeter foundation, resupporting the interior piers as needed so they go to a proper depth and they're set on a proper pad, and pour a rat slab. It's not really a substantial dig, and it's just utilizing the existing perimeter block foundation.
Thank you.
Ian, just for clarity, just want to make sure that you're now speaking as a representative of the applicant, not because for the planning board, correct?
Correct. I'm the applicant's architect.
Okay. Okay, Stella? I'm looking here for you.
Thank you. I'm probably the only one who signed in, right? So this will be very quick because I know it's getting long. So it's Stella Lagutis. I'm representing the Heights Board. We are in support of this work. This has been a very long haul for the McCarthys. They've gone through a number of hoops in terms of trying to satisfy Heights requests as well as a nearby neighbor's request. It is our normal practice to reach out to the nearby neighbors. In addition to whatever is done by the applicant, we have not had any feedback in terms of objections. So we're really happy about that. And so other than summing up to say we're in support, there were a couple of standard conditions that we'd like you to consider putting in that were in our letter. And that's it. So thank you.
Good. Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. McCarthy, you want to say anything?
No, just thank you to the board and to the committees and to Stella for your support and your consideration. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we will close that hearing and we will open the hearing on the proposed purchase of the Nature Conservancy property.
This is a public hearing on the proposed purchase of property consisting of approximately 0.92 plus or minus acres of property located at 69 North Ferry Road, designed as tax map number 0700 015 01 004.002 from the Nature Conservancy, who is the owner, for the sum of $365,000 with cell tower funds in general account for the purpose of constructing workforce or affordable housing with IA septic system technology for wastewater needs and creating/maintaining an open space easement as described in the proposed purchase and sale agreement.
Thanks, Todd. This is a parcel of land that the Nature Conservancy approached the CPF about if they would be interested in buying it. When the CPF asked the town board, we felt that it really didn't fit the criteria for the CPF. Number one, it's business property, so that we don't have a lot of business property on the island to begin with. And number two, we felt it was more important for use for housing. We have very little land that we own that we can use for housing. So we went back to the Nature Conservancy, asked them if they would be, if they were comfortable with that, because this land was donated to them, and they wanted to sell it to raise funds. So they said as long as we could create a greenway back to Sachem's Woods, they were comfortable with it. That's it. I don't know if anybody else wants to speak to it.
No, covered it.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Okay.
I would like to,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Supervisor Siller and members of the town board, thank you very much and good evening. You gave a very good summary of the transaction, but I would like to pause and thank Beth King publicly, who is the donor of the property to the Nature Conservancy. She has a special fondness for Mashomic And she donated the land generously to the Nature Conservancy with the expectation that it would be sold to raise funds for Mashomik's operation. So we're very grateful to her and very pleased that the town is interested in purchasing the land. We think it's allows us to achieve mutual goals whereby we get to honor the donor's intent and preserve the access to Sagam's Woods, and the town gets to pursue a really important priority for the town.
I think it's a real win-win.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Mary.
much.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to close that hearing and we're going to reconvene our regular meeting, and we will act on the Marks mooring application. Yeah. Well, wait. I have, starting with, mine doesn't start with.
Mine has,
Okay, you have Marks?
whereas, yeah.
Okay,
I have
good.
all of them, man.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, you're good. Maybe I'm reading this wrong.
Whereas Andrew Marks, 7 Larry Lane, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to install a mooring in Cockles Harbor, approximately 160 feet off of the community dock, 160 feet southeast of the mooring of the Hoffman, which is the C-2721, at a location designated as latitude 41.083586 north degrees and longitude 72.321942 degrees west. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 18th day of February, 2022, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition, now therefore be it resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned installation. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, I have the Hand and Vidal one. Whereas Sarah Hand and Raul Vidal, 6 Cozy Lane, have petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to install a stake mooring and pulley system at Town Landing at Bay Shore Drive, stake 65 feet northwest of Monument at south side of Landings, pulley line going parallel to W3340 pulley line, anchor at 75 feet offshore to match W3340, stake to be on Silver Beach Association property, of which applicants are members, at a location designated as latitude 41.053913 degrees north and longitude 72.357176 degrees west. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 18th day of February 2022 for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition, now therefore be it resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned installation with the condition that the subject vessel shall remain buoyant at all times. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas Aaron Eisenberg of 10 Larry Lane has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to install a mooring in Cockles Harbor, approximately 190 feet east of the applicant's dock. Said mooring location was formerly occupied by the Denahan C-3305 mooring, designated at latitude 41.082675 degrees north and longitude 72.321461 degrees west. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 18th day of February 2022 for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to, now therefore be it resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned installation. So moved.
Councilman Colligan, seconds, votes aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas Richard Tarlow of 2011 Trust, 25 Nostrum Parkway, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to remove and replace in place approximately 486 linear feet of existing timber bulkhead and plus 19-foot southerly timber return with vinyl bulkhead and return, backfill with approximately 100 cubic yards of clean sand fill, and to be trucked in from an approved upland source, and temporarily disconnect and remove and replace in kind, in place, intersecting portions of the dock/ramp as follows. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 18th day of February, 2022, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition, now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Part 617, Section 617.10 of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and Chapter 60 of the Code of Town of Shelter Island. Notice is hereby given that the town board, as lead agency, has determined that the project will not have any significant effect on the environment, and a draft environmental impact study will not be prepared. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, whereas High Point Rock LLC, care of John Borthwick, 71C North Nostrum Parkway, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to remove and dispose of 111 feet of existing bulkhead and construct 111 feet of new bulkhead in kind, in place.
Do you want me to read the rest of that?
I wasn't sure.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Oh,
It is
we didn't
probably.
finish it?
It probably is part of that. It's not clear, yeah. But you want me to read that?
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Environmental review status pursuant to Chapter 60 of the Town Code of the Town of Shelter Island, Type 2. Reasons supporting this determination. The proposed bulkhead replacement, number one, will not cause an obstruction into navigational channels or interfere with navigation. Number two, will not adversely affect the public's right to use town waters and land under town waters. Number three, will not adversely affect shell fishing grounds or other aquatic wildlife which may exist in the immediate area. Number four, will not adversely affect the quality of tidal waters, shoreline, or beaches. And number five, will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent residents. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned construction as per specifications filed after said applicant pursuant to section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island has filed with the town clerk a certificate that the owner has at least $300,000 of liability insurance on the location and operations covered by said permit, a copy of the contractor's current home improvement contractor's license, and a certificate from the contractor performing the operations covered by said permit, and that said contractor has an owner's contract policy issued in favor of the town of Shelter Island for the liability limits at least $500,000 covering operations of the contractor pursuant to said permit. And be it further resolved that said operations shall be completed within 1 year from the date of issuance of this permit. Said permit is subject to the recommended limitations and any requirements that may be necessary under the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Army Corps of Engineers, and any other agencies having jurisdiction. So moved.
Okay, we'll do this again. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Whereas High Point Rock LLC, care of John Borthwick, 71C North Nostrum Parkway, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to remove and dispose of 111 feet of existing bulkhead and construct 111 feet of new bulkhead in kind, in place. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 18th day of February, 2022, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or opposition. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to section 617, section 617.10 of the State Environmental Quality Review Act and chapter 60 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, notice is hereby given that the town board as lead agency has determined that the project will not have a significant effect on the environment and a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. Environmental review status pursuant to chapter 60 of the Town Code of the Town of Shelter Island, type 2. Reasons supporting this determination. The proposed bulkhead replacement, one, will not cause an obstruction into navigable channels or interference with navigation. Two, will not adversely affect the public's right to use town waters or lands under town waters. Three, will not adversely affect shell fishing grounds or other aquatic wildlife which may exist in the immediate area. Four, will not adversely affect the quality of tidal waters, shorelands, or beaches. Five, will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent residents. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned construction as per specifications filed after said applicant pursuant to section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island has filed with the town clerk a certificate that the owner has at least $300,000 liability insurance on the location and operations covered by said permit, a copy of the contractor's current home improvement contractor's license, and a certificate from the contractor performing the operations covered by said permit that said contractor has an owner's contractor's policy issued in favor of the town of Shelter Island for the liability limits of at least $500,000 covering operations of the contractor pursuant to said permit. And be it further resolved that said operation shall be completed within 1 year from the date of issuance of this permit. Said permit is subject to the recommended limitations and requirements that may be necessary under the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Army Corps of Engineers, and any other agencies having jurisdiction. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas John and Sandra Fifield, 3 Heritage Drive, have petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to install a mooring in Cockles Harbor off Captain Bob's Landing, 100 feet northeast of Smith C 3172 mooring. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 18th day of February 2022 for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition. Now therefore be it resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned installation. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Meg, do you have the new grid, the coordinates for this thing?
I do.
You do, okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to check. Okay.
Whereas David Daly, 33 New York Avenue, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to install a mooring in West Neck Bay off the town landing near Tackle Hill at a location designated as latitude 41.065195 north and longitude 72.364405 west. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 18th day of February 2022 for all interested persons to be held in favor or in opposition. And whereas all interested persons were heard in favor or in opposition, now therefore be it resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned installation. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. The good news, folks, it's the last one. Whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 18th day of February 2022 in the Shelter Island Town Hall, Shelter Island, New York, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to the proposed purchase of property consisting of approximately 0.92 plus or minus acres of property located at 69 North Ferry Road, designated on the tax map number 0700-015.00/001.00/004.002, if we can remember that, from the Nature Conservancy, who is the owner, from the sum of $365,000 with cell tower funds in general account for the purpose of constructing workforce and affordable housing, parentheses, with IA septic system technology for wastewater needs, close parentheses, and creating / and maintaining the open space easement as described in the proposed purchase and sale agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby approve of said purchase, and be it further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all paperwork to effectuate at said purchase. So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open the meeting to the public. If anyone has any comments, questions for the town board? See a show of hands if you want. Okay, I don't see anybody. Oh, there we go. Pam?
Yeah, hi, folks. I just wanted to know, the West Neck Water meeting was canceled this morning. Do we know what the progress is with that agreement?
Yeah,
And also
it's
what's happening with
rescheduled for,
Lombardo and my other question is about Lombardo and the municipal wastewater and how they're coming along with that program.
West Neck Water is rescheduled for Tuesday morning,
11 o'clock.
11 a.m. Tuesday. And Lombardo is still a work in progress. I don't have any.
They're waiting for us to choose a location, so they haven't done any additional design work.
Okay.
If that's what you're asking, Pam.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to get an update because we haven't talked about it in a while.
Yep.
Thanks.
And Pam, we're still actively working on that, big time, trying to find an alternate location.
Okay. Anybody else? Once, twice? All right, before we adjourn, I just want to take a moment to, this is a very long meeting, and we had a lot of resolutions and a lot of hearings, and I think it went pretty smooth, so I want to thank the town clerk and our new deputy town clerk for getting everything in place for us. So we had a good meeting. It was a long meeting, but thank you. And I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Have a nice weekend, everyone.